Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is Tuesday, November 29th. Today marks the 2 month anniversary that I have been emphasizing to get into these SPX spreads. These spreads are money, these spreads are gravy. But before we go anywhere, I'm going to take maybe a little bit longer than a minute, and I want to apologize if anybody took anything out of context yesterday morning as we were floating around. I'll come back to this screen here in a minute. But going in here yesterday, looking at yesterday's chart, just yesterday alone, how we opened at 4,005 or 4,005 we opened. We had that quick run up to 4,012. And I went into the morning preconceived notion that we were going to fill that gap up at 40.26. We were going to have another tiny little range day, and we would start to open up a little bit because the Monday after the holiday tends to also be a very slow day. We looked for a dip on Friday, we didn't get one. But as we came in here in the morning, we were just hovering. We were hovering around that 39.90. We did lose a little bit. It was here prior to Bullard at noon, over here in the morning, where I was actually talking to myself, not talking to anyone directly in the chat room, when I was basically sitting screaming like a little bitch about stop whining about we're dipping, stop. Okay, it's early in the morning, and I, I owe you better than that. During Thanksgiving, it's none of your business. Not that like that, but during Thanksgiving, I didn't celebrate. I was alone, and I finally got it to myself to where I went and I cleaned out my daughter's room, who passed away to cancer last year. So because of that, not because of that, I'm not blaming it on that. I'm better than that. But we're heading here into Christmas, we're heading into December. I may have taken a little bit of my own personal emotions out on myself in the comments that we were making. If we were both sitting, if any of us were all sitting at a table talking about what was going on in the chat yesterday, and you heard my voice and you heard what it is, what I was talking about, you would know that I wasn't speaking directly at anyone. I was speaking about it as myself, and basically doing the same thing, complaining about the algorithm that I'll show you here as we go forward, that it just fell apart here after 12:30 as we went into 1 o'clock and into the end of the day. Completely fell apart. I had been mentioning that the ranges were getting smaller and smaller and that we were going to wind up breaking these ranges very soon, and that's exactly what we did yesterday. But again, here to bring you on to what I look at, here is the SPX 60-minute chart. We ended the day down at 9.3 on the RSI. We were down here basically all morning. From 12 o'clock on, we were down here in this level. And I was for sure something was going to come around and bring the algorithm into a buy, something out of anywhere, somewhere. That's a 60-minute time frame. We're talking about a larger time frame. NDX has been weak. But come out of this 60-minute frame and go on to something which is a little bit more realistic, because we are trading, intraday. Move this up. And here's the 15-minute, which again, using very strategically. And we had a buy divergence on the 15-minute the entire day and still could not get that move towards the upside. And, the risk trade that we put out there on the spreads did not work. That's very clear. Again, went into the morning with a preconceived notion that we were going to go up there, we were going to be filling the gap, we were going to get another 4,000 close, and we didn't. We didn't get it. Instead, we got the alternative, which is what I had mentioned in the room before and in the chat room or in the email, that 39.55 is due to get a visit if we do fail over anywhere. So again, wider view into a shorter view, because we've got Jerome Powell tomorrow. this is where we are for the year. And you can see this big white trend line that we've got coming across here. That's your resistance. Excuse me, falling from down ever since the beginning of the year, from the highs, the March high, the August high. They almost make perfect contact. The August high is what we're emphasizing the most right now, is because that's the 200-day moving average, which we tagged perfectly and then fell off of. Here is our 6 hour. 6 hour. Is this 6 or is this 12? This is the 12 hour, so you're only getting 2 candles every day. So as you can see here, the 12 hour is very much into a bearish pattern, even though we've only dropped very fractionally. And that was very easy to do because we didn't go anywhere for a week. But bring you into something a little bit more strategic, which is a 4-hour chart. And our 4-hour is just nearly coming down to that oversold area, where, as you can see here, we were oversold on the bottom here. We're oversold on we had our buy divergence actually when we put in our lows here. But this here shows us our 200-day moving average, where we touched it over here in August, and how over here we're just kind of flailing around trying to get into something right now, and we're not getting any energy. Now we've got Jerome Powell tomorrow. We were very, very oversold, as I showed you there, from yesterday's 60-minute time frames into 15-minute time frames. So for today being Tuesday, very, very strategically obvious would be the push to the upside and get back up into that 40-30 area to fill the gap from the weekend as we head into tomorrow, which tomorrow afternoon we've got Jerome Powell, and then get a better look and a better opportunity to see whether or not we are going to get a very hard rejection off of that 200-day moving average and get a better move down, which we've actually got some gaps to be filled down here from back when we had the big CPI reading going back there in, beginning or early November. We've got a major gap here that still needs to be filled that we haven't touched anything on, but not going to look into that, not going to get into the whole bearish FinTwit thing. We're playing this day by day, minute by minute as we're going through here, because, again, nothing actually matters until we get up there to Jerome Powell. And looking here from a 5-day point of view, we had a 100-day move, or 100 points going from last week's low to that double top, triple top that we had up there at 40.34. And here we are just hovering on that 39.55. So although it was not the greatest situation yesterday, we did finally get at least a little bit better of a range. And again, throwing out those strategic upper barriers and lower barriers and widening me out a bit, the safe trades, the 2 that I posted, both of them did wind up working out. One of them 16, 17%, the other one for 25% when we got down to the lows later on in the morning. But again, the risk trade did not work out. That's why I call it risk. That's why it's named risk, and that's why it's got a big swinging around circular siren saying it's risk. Barry Bonds, 700 plus home runs, struck out 5,000, 6,000 times. A-Rod, number 4 on the all-time strikeout list, but he's in the Hall of Fame and number 4 in the most home runs ever hit. Pete Rose, nobody talks about him. Guy got more hits than anybody else, got on base, scored more runs. So stick to safe. Safe is always going to grow you. Safe is always going to move you forward. You want to get out there. You want to get that big jolt, that big hit. Understand what risk is. Understand that it is risk. And risk, again, 90% of the time it pays off. But when it doesn't pay off, you got to be managing it properly, and you got to have what's out there risking what you can already manage to risk, as in your last 2 days of gains. That's what you're willing to risk. But going back again to the chat room from yesterday, again, I didn't push any comments directly to anybody on any comments that they made. And I do wish and hope that you understand things that I took care of over the weekend, having cleaned out that room. I left that for more than a year because I didn't want to do it. Now coming onto the holidays with Christmas, the day after Christmas is also the anniversary of when I lost my daughter in the tsunami in Thailand. and it's just not a fantastic time of the year for me. And I love the family that we have here with the club, and I want to do nothing but make all of your lives 5 million times better than they are right now, and I will do everything in my power to make that happen. So I appreciate you taking the time. I apologize for taking too much of your time today, and I'll see you in the chat room when we get started.